There's this special kind of pain that every single chess player knows. It's that gut-wrenching, sinking feeling, that jolt of ice in your veins the second your finger leaves a piece and you finally see it, that horrible game-losing mistake you just made. It's a raw reminder, as one player put it, of just how stupid I can be at times. But what if those moments weren't just random? What if we could actually understand them, anticipate them, and build a system to stop them? Well, that's exactly what we're going to do today.
So really, why does this happen? I mean, you've been there, right? You spend all this time calculating, you feel great about your move, you're confident, and then boom, disaster. It feels like a glitch in your brain, some weird momentary lapse. But it's not a glitch, it's a pattern. These blunders are caused by very specific psychological and cognitive blind spots that affect everyone, from total beginners all the way up to grandmasters. And understanding the why is the absolute first step to fixing the how.
All right, so here's how we're going to break this all down. First up, we're going to dissect the anatomy of a blunder. Then, we'll take a look at what's actually happening inside your brain when you play. From there, we'll forge some mental armor, introduce a super practical pre-move ritual, figure out how to learn from the scars when mistakes still happen, and finally, lock in your next best move toward improvement.
Okay, first things first. Let's put that awful moment under the microscope. See, blunders, they don't just pop up out of nowhere. They're the final, painful symptom of a little breakdown in our thinking process. And by figuring out the root causes, we can start building up our defenses.
So let's get on the same page. What is a blunder really? I mean, sure, officially it's a terrible, often game-losing mistake. But on a gut level, it's that move born from a massive oversight. It's not just a bad move, it's the one that feels so obvious just a second later, the one that makes you question everything and think, how could I have possibly missed that?
So what's actually causing this blurred vision at the board? Well, it usually comes down to one of three things. First, just plain old poor concentration, kind of zoning out. Second is what we call hope chess. Playing a move and just hoping your opponent doesn't see the totally obvious response. And third, time pressure, or as the Germans call it, Zeitnot. That ticking clock forces your brain into a panic mode, and panic mode is terrible at spotting tactics.
And listen, it's not just about what's happening on the 64 squares. What's going on in your head, your mental and emotional state, that is a huge factor. Just look at these triggers. If you're feeling a little overconfident after a winning streak, you can get sloppy. If you're mentally tired from a long, tough game, your focus just disappears. And if you're stressed about the game or about life, your brain power's already drained, making blunders almost a sure thing.
Which brings us perfectly to the next big piece of the puzzle. What is actually going on inside your head during a game? Because playing chess isn't just you against your opponent. A lot of the time, it's you against the limits of your own mind. And trust me, your brain is working incredibly hard.
You got to think about it like this. Playing chess is basically a neuro exercise. It's a full-on workout for your brain. Seriously, in just one game, you're lighting up like 6 to 8 different parts of your brain all at once. This is not a passive game. It's one of the most mentally demanding things you can do.
So to get how this all works, let me introduce you to your brain's very own chess team. You've got the frontal lobe, that's your grand strategist, the one doing the long-term planning. Then there's the parietal lobe, which is handling all the spatial stuff, seeing how the pieces relate to each other. But the real hero of our story today is the anterior cingulate cortex. This thing is basically your brain's internal blunder checker. It's the part that's supposed to spot errors and keep you focused. When you blunder, it's usually because this critical system got ignored, bypassed, or was just too tired to do its job.
All right, so we know the blunders are coming from these mental blind spots, from just being overloaded. The big question is, how do we fight back? This is all about building up that mental armor so you can win the battle against the opponent inside your own head.
And this is really the core battle right here. On one side, you've got that sneaky mental trap of hope chess, where you're just focused on your own brilliant plan and, well, hoping your opponent is a total klutz. But on the other side, you've got objective analysis. This is a much more disciplined way of thinking, where you assume your opponent will always find the best move. You're not just looking at your cool ideas, you are constantly, relentlessly scanning for their threats, their checks, and their captures.
A Reddit user absolutely nailed it with this quote. They said, "Playing automatically and not being present in the position are the most common ways obtuse blunders occur." And that's it, right? Going on autopilot is your biggest enemy. A blunder is really just a failure of being present. It's a sign that you stopped thinking critically and just started moving pieces. Okay, This brings us to probably the most practical, hands-on part of this whole thing. We've talked a lot about the why and the what. Now it's time for the how. This is a real, actionable checklist you can start using in your very next game to seriously cut down your blunder rate.
So remember that little blunder checker we talked about in your brain, the anterior cingulate cortex? Well, the secret here is to give it a specific job. We've got to turn that passive ability into an active, conscious habit. By creating a consistent routine before you move, you are systematically waking up that error detection system every single time. And here it is. This is the ritual. It's so simple, but it is unbelievably powerful and effective. Before you make any move, I don't care how obvious it looks, you run this 3-step check. First, you scan for all possible checks in the position, for you and for your opponent. Second, you scan for all possible captures. And third, you scan for all the other immediate threats. These are the forcing moves that pretty much define what's actually happening on the board. By consciously checking them every single time, you'll slam the door on 90% of those simple mistakes.
Now, okay, for the trickier, more complex positions, we can actually level this ritual up a bit. An international master shared this fantastic piece of advice. Once you've got a few good-looking moves, don't just calculate your attack. First, find your opponent's best defense to your idea. Assume they see everything. Then, and only then, do you try to find a way to break that defense. That little mental shift from what's my plan to what's their best defense and how do I beat it is how you start playing truly great, blunder-free chess.
But hey, let's be real for a second. Blunders are still going to happen. The goal here isn't to become perfect, right? It's about getting better, about improvement. So what do you do right after you make a mistake? And how do you learn from it so you don't keep doing it over and over?
So it happened. You blundered. Your heart just drops. The first thing most of us want to do is get mad or panic or just resign right there on the spot. Don't do it. The best thing you can do is take a deep breath and just mentally hit the reset button. Forget the game that was. Look at the board in front of you like it's a completely new position, a brand new puzzle you have to solve. Your job now isn't to play a perfect game. It's to find the best possible move in this new, worse reality. Make your opponent earn that win.
Then, after the game is over, that's when the real work starts. And please, don't just glance at what the computer says. Your process should be something like this. First, review the game to find the exact moment the mistake happened. Second, and this is so important, identify the pattern of the blunder. Was it a missed knight fork? A back rank mate you didn't see? A skewer? Third, go do puzzles focused on that specific theme until you can see it in your sleep.
All right, let's start tying all this together. Look, the path to getting better at chess, it's not about making some huge, giant leap overnight. It's a patient game of inches, built on small, consistent, and smart habits.
So what are the big things to remember from all this? First, and this is huge, blunders are not random. They have real, identifiable causes. Second, think of your brain as a muscle that needs to be trained with focus and good habits. Third, that simple pre-move checklist, checks, captures, threats, is your most powerful weapon. And finally, every single mistake is a lesson, but only if you actually take the time to learn from it.
And you know, when you really get down to it, this stuff isn't just about chess. The discipline you're building over the board, that intense focus, that rigorous error checking, the ability to see a situation from someone else's point of view, that strategic planning, these are life skills. You can apply them directly to your job, your relationships, pretty much everything.
Which leads me to this one final powerful idea. Think about it. Just like in a chess game where you've blundered and everything looks hopeless, you can still fight. You can still find a plan. It's this amazing metaphor for life. There's nothing in your life that can't be fixed. You just got to find that next best move. So, I'm going to leave you with a final question to think about. Please don't try to fix everything all at once, okay? That's just a recipe for burning out. Instead, just pick one thing. Based on your own games, what is the one tactical pattern, the one type of blunder you make most often, that you will focus on this week to make your next game just a little bit better than your last?